Today we're going to talk about quotation marks and when to use quotation marks. Use quotation marks to enclose a direct quotation, a person's exact words. Do not use quotations for indirect quotations, a rewording of a direct quotation. So if it's not something that someone is directly saying, that is in their own words. For example, Tom predicted that it would be a close game. Tom is not saying that. We're repeating what Tom has said. Direct quotations begin with a capital letter. For example, Maria said, "The carne asada isn't ready yet." The is capitalized because it's the first word of the quote. When the expression identifying the speaker interrupts a quoted sentence, the second part of the quotation begins with a small letter. For example, "Lightning has always awed people," explained Mrs. Worthington, "and many of us are still frightened by it." We have one part of the sentence here, interrupted by who said it. Then the sentence continues, the quote continues after the person who said it, so we use a lowercase letter. When the second part of a divided quotation is a sentence, it begins with a capital letter. Example, "I can't go today, I said, period, ask me tomorrow." We have two separate sentences here. We have one, and then we have another. So we start the second one with a capital letter. If a quotation comes at the beginning of a sentence, a comma follows it. For example, Bernie said, comma, "Science is more interesting than history." We have who said it, so we put a comma, then our quotes. If a quotation comes at the end of a sentence, a comma comes before it. Example, "I especially like to do experiments," comma, then the quotes. Velma commented. Comma comes before the quotes. If a quoted sentence is interrupted, a comma follows the first part and comes before the second part. For example, "Yes," Juan added, "Bernie loves to do experiments too." Yes is the first part. Bernie loves to do experiments too is the second part. Juan added is in the middle. So we have a comma after the first part, then the quotes, comma after who said it, then the quotes. When a quotation ends with a question mark or an exclamation point, no comma is needed. Example, "I'll say it is," Debbie exclaimed. So we have our quote, and when you have an exclamation point, then the quotes. A period or comma should always be placed inside the closing quotation marks. Example, "The Ramses exhibit begins over there, comma, quotes," said the museum guide. The comma goes inside of the quotes. A question mark or an exclamation point should be placed inside the closing quotation marks when the quotation itself is a question or an exclamation. Otherwise, it should be placed outside. Example, "How far have we come?" Question mark, quotes, asked the exhausted man. Who said, comma, quotes, "Give me liberty or give me death"? Quotes, question mark. "Give me liberty or give me death" is the quote. So the question goes on the outside because the whole thing is a sentence. "Jump!" exclamation point, ordered the firefighter. This is what they said, so it goes on the inside. When both the sentence and the quotation at the end of the sentence are questions or exclamations, only one question mark or exclamation point is used. It is placed inside the closing quotation marks. Example, "Did Josh really say, 'What's Cinco de Mayo?' Question mark, quotes." This is what Josh said. So the question mark goes on the inside because he asked a question. When you write dialogue conversation, begin a new paragraph every time the speaker changes. So for writing a conversation, every time there's a new speaker, you indent and start a new paragraph. When a quotation consists of several sentences, put quotation marks only at the beginning and the end of the whole quotation. So if it's a whole paragraph where the person is speaking, you put quotations at the beginning and quotations at the end. You don't need to put them anywhere else because the whole paragraph is what the person is saying. And last, use single quotation marks to enclose quotation within a quotation. Example, Brandon added, quotes. My mom always says, look before you leap. And then quotes. We have a single quote before look and a single quote after leap. That's what his mom said. But Brandon said all of this. So his double quotes, his words, we use double quotes, double quotes. What she said, he's repeating. So we put that in the middle here and we use single quotes.